Okay, hello Year 10 and welcome to episode 5 now, I think it is, of Mr. MALTBY'S home learning series. I just thought I'd start off by saying, I hope you had a nice half term and enjoyed the sun, and well done with all the work that you've done so far. You're doing a fantastic job, really good and well done. Today's sort of session of the videos is going to be split in two. Part 1, which is this video, is looking at competition in animals. And then I'll be releasing part 2 later on, which will be looking at competition in plants. So just going through the work that was set on Monday. So just a reminder that you have the biology assessment, so really well done with that. Those of you that managed to complete the assessment, I've also just highlighted here, I highlighted my cursor to complete the dirt activities. So you'll see on Teams assignments, that I've left you a comment, some individual feedback, as well as your score and some dirt activities related to Seneca. So please do have a look at that on the biology channel. If it's been any difficulties with doing that assessment, then please do just get in touch via Teams or email, and we'll get that sorted out. But it's some really excellent work with that. I'll also be doing a video later on going through the test question by question, to pick up on any other misconceptions and to go through the test, as I said, question by question, which will be really useful. So like I said, today we're going to be looking at ecology, competition in animals and plants. You will have by now done the pre-reading, as you have done each week, made some sort of brief notes and diagrams and how to go at the optional summary questions should you wish. So make sure you've done that first, okay, to get that as a base knowledge for what we're going to be doing now. Sort of building on that and doing some extra activities. Okay, so first of all, let's go straight into our competition in animals, and we'll get started on this. Okay, so like with the other videos, we're going to go along and work through a couple of extra activities. Go thinking a bit more deeply about what we've been looking at in the textbook. First of all, starting off with competition in animals. So I just want you to have a think, okay, based on the reading that you've done, can you state off the top of your mind what animals compete for? You've got a nice image here to kind of get you thinking. And just to think a bit deeper, suggest what makes successful competition. Just have a little think about that. We're going to come back to that in a minute. So pause the video and have a little think about those two things. So here are our kind of learning outcomes for competition in animals. We're going to explain the kind of tactics, I guess, that help an animal compete for resources, what those resources are. We need to be able to understand the key terms interspecific and intraspecific competition, we'll give examples of each, and list some resources that animals compete for between each other. We've got some key terms here that we need to be able to use. Territory, mate, that's not like your best mate, your pal, that's looking for, a likely mate to reproduce with. Competition, predator and prey. If you want to pause and have a look at the actual specification link, what's in the APA specification link, then you can do that and pause the video now and have a look at that. And so straight into our first question. Of course, animals compete for food, mates and territory specifically. Okay, the resources, a likely mate and the territory, linking to ideas of habitat and space. We've got a little video here for you to have a look at. Whilst watching the video, I want you to have a think about the following. Okay, how does the red-capped mannequin compete for a mate? How does it go about doing that? So let's have a look at this video and start thinking about that question. As an example.
These Grant's gazelles are also measuring each other up and trying to decide whether to risk a dangerous duel or not. Competing by brute force is one technique adopted by males, but there's another way, by being glamorous. Threatening rivals with striking plumage is the domain of birds. These are mandarin drakes, beautiful, but displaying for sexual dominance. Showing off as a way of winning a power struggle can be seen in black grouse, a Swedish dawn. Before the hens appear, the cockbirds declare choral warfare and challenge each other to ritualized fights. Flashing feathers is no soft option to armed combat. The rivalry between these males is just as serious as it is among those which fight. The best performer reaps his reward by mating with the majority of the hens. In Costa Rica lives one of the natural world's greatest glamour boys, the red-capped mannequin.
This is the
showman,
red-capped mannequin here.
Dazzle, with each trying to outshine the others with their brilliant plumage, fancy footwork, and startling wing snap. Egged on by the presence of a female, the males intensify their acts. When really worked up, they reveal their eye-catching trousers. Although driven by sex, this is also a display of aggression, warning rival males to keep their distance. There are 11 males in this jungle theatre, all vying with each other to become the most desirable performer.
Okay, so great little video there, and you can see from that video that the red-capped mannequin has that very bright plumage, physical adaptation, as well as the behavioural adaptation, which is really, really interesting. The kind of dance that they're doing to attract the mates, and that's, you know, I mentioned the number there. If you heard it, there was only 11 males in that specific habitat, all competing for very, very few females, and so with the numbers there, the competition is high, isn't it? And so they've got to be really well adapted, okay, and fiercely compete to have the chance of a successful mate. And we can kind of tie this in a little bit. I think it's quite nice to tie this into kind of Darwin's survival of the fittest. And we know that the best adapted organisms are those likely to win and compete for resources. If they are best adapted, if they are good competitors, they are more likely to survive, they are more likely to reproduce, and therefore pass on those characteristics to their offspring and reproduce and have a next generation. And we know that there will be competition, some key terms here, between members of a different species, that's inter-specific competition, and competition with members of the same species. You can see here with the lions. Okay, so members of a different species, that competition may be for food resources, whereas in terms of interspecific competition, whereas members of the same species, the two alpha males of a particular group of animals, you see lions here perhaps, competing for a mate. Okay, so different aspects of competition, different types of competition, whether that's inter and intra, we can have different examples. So maybe worth pausing the video now and just making a couple of notes on those key terms there. Okay, we've got an interesting notion here in terms of this idea of pandas only eat bamboo. Why might this be a disadvantage? So many different species of herbivores but all eat the same plant, and I want to just pause and think, why would that be an issue? If they're all eating the same plant, why would that be an issue? Just pause the video and have a think. Now, of course, if they're all eating the same plant, they're all going to be competing for that plant. And depending on how scarce the resource is, that's going to increase the competition for that resource. Now, animals, obviously, then that can eat a wide range of plants are more likely to be successful. So yeah, of course, picky eaters, watch out. Now, of course, the picture's slightly different with carnivores. Carnivores will compete for their prey. Small mammals, such as mice, are eaten by foxes, owls, and hawks. So the best adapted to finding and catching mice will be the most successful. And again, we can tie this into this idea of adaptations, which we'll be looking at next. Carnivores compete with members of their own species also. However, some prey animals contain poison that makes anything that eats them sick. That's it. Again, tying that into this idea of adaptation. So we pause the video now and make a few notes here. Again, tying into this idea of Darwin's theory of evolution, Darwin's finches, which we'll be looking at in a future topic. Different species of finch have different shaped beaks, so they don't have to compete for the same food. Another brilliant example of how the better adapted you are, how that affects then the competition for food resources. So we've got some questions here for you to have a go at. You can answer the questions below. First one, give 2 ways in which animals compete for mates. Suggest a disadvantage of the methods you have given for question 1. And if you want to just think a little bit more deeply about this, suggest 2 adaptations you would expect to find in an animal that hunts small mammals, including mice. So pause the video, 6 minutes or so, have a go at these questions. So just a couple of example answers here. Okay, we've got fighting display. Have some answers here as well. Suggest a disadvantage of the methods you've given in question. Animal could be hurt or killed, for example. Needs lots of body resources. Display needs lots of body resources. Vulnerable to predation during its display. Think about the mannequin there that we looked at before. And suggesting, some ideas for thinking more deeply. Suggest 2 adaptations you would expect to find in an animal that hunts small mammals. Well, very good eyesight. They need to be able to see the prey. Good hearing to hear the prey. Good sense of smell to track the prey. Binocular vision to pounce on the prey. So go back and have a look at your answers and see if you can add in any extra detail to anything that you've written. Pause the video and have a look at your own answers. Okay, so what we've got now, this kind of links to the reading that you would have done in preparation for this on page 264 and 265 of the textbook, which was set before, and you've got some tasks here. So if you're feeling really, really confident with this particular topic, then I'd like you to have a go at the level hot. If you're not too sure, have a go at medium. If we're still kind of building our knowledge and we need to go back over the textbook work, for example, go for the mild ones. Okay, so at this point, I want you to pause the video. You've got about 10 minutes and you need to choose and complete 2 of the tasks. based on where you think you are at. So pause the video and have a go at these tasks. Okay, so for those of you that had a go at the mild and the medium, you can now pause the video and have a look at these answers. And I'll give the example. I'm not going to read through all the answers, but I'll give the example of this amazing poisonous dart frog. Okay, a single golden poison frog harbours enough poison to kill 10 grown men, making these frogs perhaps the most poisonous animals alive. They're incredible. You see the bright colours as well, kind of warning predators that they contain this poison. It keeps its poison in glands beneath the skin. The poison is called batrachotoxin. It causes paralysis and death when it enters the bloodstream, even in tiny amounts. Okay, and they're very, very small indeed, measuring only 1.5 to 6 centimeters. Okay, so really, really interesting example there. And yeah, do feel free to do some extra reading around that if you're interested in that sort of thing. So pause the video, and for those of you that had a go at these particular questions, you've got some answers there to check your answers and make corrections. Okay, and for those of you that had a go at these more challenging questions, we've got some answers here for you to have a look at. We can use some green pens to go back through your answers to make any adjustments to the work that you've got. And finally, having gone through those questions, everybody, and checking your answers, we've got the match the feature to what it helps the animal to compete for. So again, pause the video, have a think. What do you think this quick match activity could be? Of course, mouthy cuts, bright feathers is to attract mates. Wasps building nests is for shelter. Owls sharp hearing to help for food, compete for food. And tigers urinating trees to mark their territory, to warn off competitors. Okay, there we have it. So if you want to now go back through the video at any point to have a look at those more challenging questions, perhaps if you went and did the mild ones, maybe do the more challenging ones, the hot ones, and have a go at those as well. The next video I'll be releasing will be part 2, which will be on competition in plants. Okay. If you have any questions, I'll be on Teams, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.